I want to welcome everybody. I hope you can see my screen. We have a wonderful guest today. She is here from, hold on, I gotta go to the next slide. Before I welcome her, I want to let you know that we also, in addition to today's Ike Kaiaulu talk story session, we also have a few more, but not until after all the holidays. So in February and March, we have scheduled a few more. So stay tuned to this wonderful channel of Ike Kaiaulu. And yeah, we'll be talking to the Wilhelm Ohana next February. So that's pretty exciting. So today we will be, as I said, welcoming Anne Mukai, who's here from the Hawaiian Humane Society. Just a little bit of brief background. Ike Kaiaulu is part of Windward Community College and formerly known as the Service Learning Program there at WCC. So I wear multiple hats. I'm a Hawaiian and Pacific Studies instructor at WCC, but I'm also the head of the community engagement program. And as we were going through COVID, this seemed to be the most ideal situation. So it's really great that we're able to connect up with people in this new fashion. We actually are interacting with more community members than we were before COVID, because not everybody can come out and engage with the community all of the time. So having it on Zoom, it means it's much easier to learn about what's happening in the community. And community engagement includes everyone that's in your community. And what's really cool when you have a Zoom is you can connect all those communities together. So today we're going to be not only communicating, not only connecting with community that we normally do, which is usually tons and tons of people in each of the community. Now we get to communicate with our animal community. So that's kind of cool, via Anne, of course. Anne's gonna let us know a little bit about what kind of programs they have at the Hawaiian Humane Society. So before I take up all her time, I'm gonna go ahead and turn it over to you, Anne. And maybe you can introduce yourself and tell us a little bit about what you do there and some of the ways that we can connect with you and your Humane Society.
Sure. Thank you for having me. So my name is Annie Mukai, and I'm the Youth Program Coordinator at the Hawaiian Humane Society. So I work in our Education and Outreach Department, which falls within our Community Relations Department. So my main job is really the educational aspect of most of the things we do. I typically go to schools and give presentations. I work with students on animal-related projects, whether they are in second grade or college. I help them all with their projects. I also work with community members, so different community groups like Rotary clubs and more on educational presentations and kind of helping them get information about animals into their community. We also partner with some different animal welfare organizations on island like Hawaii Cat Cafe, and even Petco, so different businesses, different organizations to really help expand on what we do. On top of that, like I said, education and outreach. So although I mostly focus on education, we do have 2 members that I work with that do only outreach, and I assist with them in outreach initiatives when they are on the larger side. So I'll talk a little bit later about what those look like, but I kind of wanted to just start off with the little brief thing about myself. So I've worked at the Hawaiian Humane Society for 2.5 years now. So been there for quite a while. I've seen the ins and outs. I From Hawaii, I actually went to Iolani. So I am a graduate of there. I went away for college, came back because who could stay away? And now I am loving my job with the animals. So before I talk about, our outreach efforts and different ways people can help their own communities, I kind of want to start off with a little bit of history about the Hawaiian Humane Society. So I'm going to share my screen and just give you some brief Hawaiian Humane Society information. This will include both our history and our future, and even what's going on today. So our mission at the Hawaiian Humane Society is to promote the human-animal bond and the humane treatment of all animals. So when I say the human-animal bond and the humane treatment of all animals, it really is all animals. We are the only animal shelter on the island who accepts illegal animals with no questions asked. We're an amnesty site. So we do that so that people will have a safe place to bring their animals, because as you probably all know, although there's not supposed to be animals like snakes here, there are. And we want to make sure that those animals have a safe environment to go to if their owners can't care for them anymore or don't want to care for them anymore, because our very delicate ecosystem would not do too well with animals like snakes just being released into them. So we really exist so that different animals can have the best situation possible. So again, history today and tomorrow. For our history, we were founded back in 1883. So we're over 138 years old now. And you'll see in the top left-hand, I have a picture of King David Kalakaua, and that is because the Hawaiian Humane Society is actually an independent local nonprofit organization founded by King David Kalakaua and a few concerned citizens. So we are not affiliated with the Humane Society of the United States or even the Humane Societies on the other islands. We completely stand alone. When King David Kalakaua founded the Hawaiian Humane Society, he understood that both animals and people had a need to be taken care of. So back in 1883, we helped more than just animals. We worked with orphan children, unwed mothers, the mentally ill, and animals. Eventually, Child and Family Services came in and took over the human aspect of what we do. So now we only help the animals. You'll see in that second picture on the left, a man riding horseback. That's because back then, most of the animals we helped were actually farm animals, and we were given the authority in 1897 to enforce animal cruelty laws. So our humane investigators, who are basically like animal police officers, would ride horseback to people's houses or farms to ensure that their animals were being treated humanely. And you'll see that bottom picture, that's actually the first Hawaiian dictionary, and you can even see Humane Society is written in there, and that's in reference to the Hawaiian Humane Society. So you'll hear me say Hawaiian Humane Society, just to clarify that I mean us and that we are independent and stand alone, instead of just referring to us as the Humane Society. So that's a little bit about our history, but we also have been working since then on so many different programs and services to be helping our community. We have over 30 programs and services available. Most people know us for adoptions, but we also do things like advocacy, where we try to strengthen animal-related laws, cruelty investigations and rescues. We are Oahu's official pet lost and found, because we hold the big microchip database for people's pets. We offer pet microchipping on campus, and we even have a program that we offer yearly, and it is called Microchip Madness, where we partner with different veterinarians around the islands to get that cost of a microchip down to only $10, to try to encourage people to get their animals microchipped. Not only is it an encouragement, but it's actually required by law now that people get their animals microchipped. So we are constantly trying to push people to get that done. We also have a foster care program, which really helps our animals who come in who aren't quite ready to go out for adoption, whether it's because they're too young, or maybe they had just had surgery, or it could even be that they have some slight behavior issue that they're just trying to work through. Maybe they're a little scared of people or whatever it could be. And our foster care is run by very generous volunteers who open up their home and welcome these animals in until they are ready for adoption. Part of our foster care team too is other organizations that we partner with who have the capability of holding on to these animals a little longer term and giving them that extra attention. The reason we need that and need these other organizations' help is because the Hawaiian Humane Society is the oldest animal welfare organization on the island, the second oldest nonprofit organization on the island. And so we are well established. Because of that, we get about 70 animals in a day. So we see a lot of animals come through our doors. So we really rely on other organizations and even community members to help us out when available. We also have a program with the city and county called Neuter Now. It's currently on hold because the city and county is low on funds, surprise. But this program will help to get people low cost spay and neuter surgeries for their pets if they are on some type of government assistance. That being said, the Hawaiian Humane Society also has a community spay and neuter clinic, which I will talk about a little later. So I already mentioned that we do adoptions. It's the biggest thing that we do. And we have all different types of animals that go out for adoption: dogs, cats, small animals like guinea pigs, rabbits, even mice, turtles, and more. And some not so small animals like giant tortoises. Sometimes we even get pigs, and occasionally even peacocks go out for adoption. So it's kind of crazy. For birds, we sometimes have chickens, and we'll sometimes get pigeons. The animals that go out for adoption, when they're farm animals like chickens or pigs, these are animals that people have raised as pets. So they're meant to live as pets, not as farm animals. When they come into the Hawaiian Humane Society and somebody says, oh, this pig has been living on my farm, we actually partner with a different organization who will take them in if that's the case. But again, these are just going to be animals who are meant to be kept as pets. So cost for the animals ranges so much depending on the type of animal, the size of animal, the age of animal. And because of that, the prices are all on our website if anyone had any questions about that. But typically dogs will be about $120 if it's a puppy, so 6 months or younger. If it's an adult dog, it'll be about $85. And if it's a senior dog, so 6 years or older, it'll be potentially free, depending on the situation. So I also mentioned advocacy, and I know I'm going really fast. If any of you guys have any questions about what I'm saying during the presentation, feel free to unmute and just ask me. I want to keep this kind of casual, and I know I'm going fast. So I've talked about advocacy a little bit, but what it really is making sure that our animals have proper laws. So I mentioned we have the right to enforce animal cruelty laws since 1897, right? That's over 100 years now, right? It's been a long, long time. Since then, I believe the number is only up to 5 people that have been jailed for animal-related crimes. I'm sure you guys can all guess that probably more than 5 people have committed crimes serious enough to land them at least a couple months in jail for these crimes. Unfortunately, the laws in Hawaii are so lax that we are unable to prosecute them. This includes puppy mill owners. Puppy mills are actually not illegal in Hawaii. We just passed a bestiality law in Hawaii because Hawaii was one of the few states left that did not have any laws against bestiality. So you can imagine that there are many laws here in Hawaii that need to be strengthened, and we're constantly trying to get these pushed through. I mentioned our humane investigators, and they fall within our field services department. They are available for 24-hour emergencies and rescues. when I say emergency and rescues, that means, oh, I heard my neighbor like screaming at their dog or harming their dog, then they'll go out and check it immediately. Or I think this person could be running a puppy mill. I'm starting to see something. Then our detectives can go out and look at it immediately. But sometimes people call us with complaints like my neighbor's dog is barking a lot. So those types of things we do have business hours for, but anything emergency related, we will always have somebody available to go out and check it out. Part of their job is to really educate the community as well. A lot of misconception is that when the Hawaiian Humane Society is called out to somewhere, that they are going to come and they're going to take your dogs or they're going to get you in trouble. And honestly, that's the last case scenario for us. That is what we don't want to do. Sometimes it's, hey, my neighbor's dog looks really skinny. Can you guys come check it out? And we just want to make sure that we are educating the owners that their dogs need a certain amount of food, they need to be given proper cover, they need to be given fresh water, those types of things. And so when we get these kind of reports, our investigators will check it out, tell the owners what they need to change, what they need to do, come back about 24 hours later to check to see if they have implemented these suggestions. If they have, great, we come back in about a week or two to double check that everything's still going good. And if they haven't, that is when we go further and potentially give them a fine, citation, or even open an investigation, depending on how serious the crime is. They can even give some enforcement for cruelty and abandonment. Abandonment for cats is seen very frequently here in Hawaii, but not so frequently for dogs, but it's still important that they are well versed in that. And then dog bites are another thing that's really big here. We've seen a lot of dogs come in that have gotten in fights with other dogs, or people who came in and said they had to give up their dog because their dog bit somebody or bit another dog. So we do see dog bites pretty frequently. We're actually working with the USPS to help give them a presentation on how to avoid getting bitten by dogs. So it is a big concern here. I mentioned that I am the main contact for education. So the humane education is what I do. Typically before COVID, I would work with over 20,000 students a year. And that sounds like a lot, but it's kind of cheating because I would go to multiple schools throughout the day and give presentations to 200 kids at any given time. So it sounds like a lot, but I managed to get through. On top of that, I also work for when they have summer fun presentations throughout the summer. We're super booked during the summer going to give these presentations. And the reason it's so requested is because it's completely free. We want to make sure that the service stays free so that our community members can constantly be educated without having to worry about cost. I also host some educational programs and events. One of the biggest things that I do is my Teens4Animals Council, which I love. Our Teens4Animal Council is open annually to students in grades 9 through 12 all over the island, and they apply. They get both a application that's written, and then once we read through that, we call some of the people who have applied to make sure that they will be the right fit. We select about 15 or 16 students a year, and they spend the rest of the year with me learning different aspects of animal welfare. They get to shadow our veterinarians and watch surgeries. They get to come out and help us at events, and they're also expected to educate their own schools and communities throughout the year as well. So it's one of my favorite things that we do. We try to make it as accessible as possible for people. So we will have a van go out and pick up anyone on the west side. We'll have them meet up in a certain location, usually in Kapolei, and then we can pick them up with their parents' consent and bring them into town just to make it, again, so we're accessible for them, because we don't want to make it so anybody cannot come. We also have different events this year. I'm so excited because my Deck the Howls event is coming back in person, and it's a mini event I do where students accessible. So parents can register their children. It's for younger kids in grades 1 through 5. They get to come to campus. They get to read books to the animals right around Christmas time, and they get some milk and cookies on their way out. It's great because it helps to promote reading for children, and it also helps keep the animals calm when they're being told stories or being talked to. So it really makes a difference for everyone involved. It's a great program. This is something that the mainland Humane Society, the Humane Society of Missouri, actually started, and they have encouraged other humane societies to also participate in. So they asked us to participate, and of course, who could pass up that kind of opportunity? So registration will be coming out for that in the next few weeks. But unfortunately, we'll only be able to have 30 kids come to campus this year to participate. Yes.
I have a question. What age did you say that was for?
So we don't have exact age range. We put preferably grades 1 through 5, just because we think the older kids might be a little bored reading to the animals, and the kids who are too young might struggle too much to read to them. But it is potentially open to anyone. And then the last thing that I'm working on for this holiday time that's kind of educational is I'm working on a holiday baking video with Chef Mimi Mendoza from Senia Restaurant. She is going to help bake dog treats for us and help decorate them. We will be recording it and releasing it from YouTube and on our Instagram so that people can work with their families and with their kids on making these healthy holiday treats for their pets. So these are veterinarian approved recipes from our chief vet at the Hawaiian Humane Society. And it's really just to encourage people to get together during the holidays and make sure they're not forgetting about their pets too. So I talked about my educational events, but we also do other events at the Hawaiian Humane Society. We have our annual Pet Walk Pa'ina. It just happened for this year. So the 2021 event has just happened. It was again virtual. Next year, we're really hoping to get it in person. We also do different benefit hikes. So that bottom right picture is from our Makapu benefit hike, where people can sign up and they just meet us there. They hike up to the top with their furry friends, and it's really to encourage people, one, to think about our pet walk, because it's a precursor for our pet walk, but also to help them get active and stay healthy with their animals. Other events that we do, we're not doing it this year, unfortunately, but hopefully again next year. You'll see in that middle picture, that's Mr. and Mrs. Santa Paws. They usually come to the Hawaiian Humane Society where people can come and take a picture with them, or their animals can take a picture with them. And we request that people give an optional donation. So again, a way for us to potentially raise some money for our programs and services, because since we are independent, since we're local, a lot of people don't understand that we don't have as much funding as they think that we really do, because they assume that we're part of the Humane Society of the United States, so they think we have those kind of big grants, but unfortunately we don't. We have a few small city and county grants, but other than that, that's the only money that we get from the government. So most of our programs and services are run strictly on donations. So that's one of the biggest things that we have to worry about each year, which is why things like our pet walk or different benefit hikes are so important to keep going, and all our different little events are super important so that we can continue to offer the different programs and services. Luckily, our educational events I still keep for free. So there's no cost for those, because education should not cost. Everything that we do would not be possible without our volunteers. We have over 600 active volunteers who help us with all different tasks at the Hawaiian Humane Society. We have them help us with adoptions, dog walking, dog washing, even cat socialization, which is just hanging out in the cat houses with them. It really makes such a difference for the animals when they get the human interaction throughout the day. So Our volunteer program is huge, and we are constantly looking for more people to help out because we just have all these different potential opportunities for them. It has been a little difficult through COVID with our volunteer program, just because we have to limit the amount of people on campus at any given time and so much more. But we were so lucky that many people were able to foster as volunteers during COVID, because it made such a difference for these animals to be able to get that extra one-on-one time with families and people who are at home and working from home. We also have some volunteers that come and help us outside in the community, not just on campus. They help us out at events, again, the foster care. They even work with our offsite adoptions partners like Hawaii Cat Cafe and Petco. And they even will sometimes come with me to schools. You'll see that dog is wearing a vest that says Joy Ambassador. That's one of our outreach programs. What it is a volunteer and their well-behaved pet get certified. So the Hawaiian Humane Society certifies them, and they get to go to hospitals, hospices, and even come to schools and just bring joy, exactly what their vest says, to the people that are there, to the students that are there. You'll see the way that the kids' eyes light up, and they pay so much more attention to me when there's a dog in the room. So it's an amazing program, and we're so lucky to have it. So I talked a little bit about some of our outreach efforts, but I will talk a little more in depth about it. We offer a pet food bank. Our pet food bank has been around pre-COVID, but back then it was mostly for people who were on some type of government assistance, or maybe they were houseless individuals. Those were the primary people who would use our pet food bank. Now through COVID, we have opened it up to everyone. We don't require them to be on any type of government assistance, anything like that. They don't even have to show us proof that they are without a job or anything. We just want to take their word for it that if they need the temporary program, they need the temporary help, we want to give it to them. So our pet food bank is run from donations from our community members who donate pet food to us. We then will either give them an entire bag, depending on how many animals they have, or we'll break it down into smaller bags, and we can help to distribute the wealth. I believe last year gave out about 7,000 pounds of pet food in just the 1 month. Typically, we give anywhere from 4,000 to 8,000 pounds of food a month. And not only do we use the food for our pet food bank, but sometimes when we get in big donations of pet food, because we do get some wonderful donations from the regular Hawaii Food Bank, they are so generous that they give us so much that we're able to share it with other organizations, other animal welfare organizations, even ones that we don't particularly work with, by passing on animals and sharing that type of resource. But instead, all animal shelters have the same goal. So we want to help to promote adoptions and really promote their ability to help these animals as well. So we're more than happy to hand over some of the food to them if we have a surplus. We also have pet wellness clinics. And what this is that our outreach and education team will go out. You'll kind of see in that bottom left picture, we're handing out pet food, but it's more than that. We also offer vaccinations, microchip, and even the potential for a free spay and neuter surgery if they're in need of that. The spay and neuters don't happen right then and there, although the vaccines and microchips can. The spay and neuters, if it is for a community, sometimes we go to housing facilities. We will work with them to schedule a day to pick up their animals. And especially when we go to houseless encampments, we will schedule a day that's best to pick up their animals all at once, get them spayed and neutered in the morning, bring them back by about 5 p.m. so that they have their animals away from them for no longer than a day. And this is really important because obviously spay and neuter is a huge thing that we have to worry about, because we want to decrease the population of animals living on the streets here in Hawaii, whether it be cats or dogs. So being able to offer a spay neuter surgery for these people who otherwise wouldn't be able to afford the $250 surgery, $300 surgery at the veterinarian can make a huge difference for them. We also have our pet visitation teams. I mentioned that a little earlier. You'll see again in that middle picture is our Joy Ambassador at a hospital scene this time. It makes a huge impact on the people involved. We've heard such great things about this program. So even though it was a little difficult to keep going throughout COVID, we were able to maintain it. And the last one is a pet loss support group. And studies have shown that losing a pet can be as difficult as losing a family member. So because of that, we want to make sure that people have the proper resources to help them through the difficult time. So we have a licensed psychiatrist who volunteers her time, and she is absolutely amazing. People can register and we will send them the link. It happens once a month. It used to be in person. Right now we're doing Zoom, but we are hoping to go back to at least partial in person for those group settings. Yes, yes.
I heard on the radio this morning you have a big pet food distribution. Was that you guys?
Yes.
Yeah, they're vegan and
distribution in Eva Beach, and that is going to be people register. We're bringing 1,000 pounds of pet food, I think. It's just going to be a drive up. They check in, they pull up, we hand them over some pet food, and they just go on their way. And again, especially in, we haven't touched base too much in the east side of Oahu yet, because there's other organizations and we don't want to be stepping on people's toes. It's been a little bit controversial when we go out to these other locations. So we are trying to work with other organizations to just say, hey, maybe we can just do these little services. So we're still trying to get East Oahu taken care of, but we have been able to make it out west. And part of the reason for that, I'll talk about later. But because we are trying to help the people on the west side right now, we do want to encourage them, hey, I know the drive to Mo'ili'ili can be kind of far. We have had people come to our pet food bank who have taken the bus. We even had somebody walk, and I believe they said they ended up walking 5 miles one way. So it was a long walk, and that was because they couldn't bring their dog with them on the bus. So it's kind of crazy the length that people have to go through just to provide these basic cares for their animals. So we just really want to make sure that we can provide that for them.
yeah, I think Saturna had a question in the chat.
Okay.
Did you want to ask Saturna or you want me to read it? Can she hear me? She just was asking, how old do you have to be to volunteer for the cat socialization?
Okay, so I think our youth volunteering, I want to say that it begins at age 12, but you have to be there with a parent or legal guardian or anybody who's over 18 actually. So it could just be a family friend, it could be an older sibling. So as long as you're there with somebody 18 or older. I know that Petco, one of our offsite adoption partners, is always looking for youth volunteer and adult partner combo to help out with their offsite adoptions of cats. So that's another way to kind of work with the cats at a different location that's probably a little closer than town too.
Thank you.
And then I don't know the last time that any of you guys have been to the Hawaiian Humane Society, but if it hasn't been too recently, you might not have seen this. Our Mo'ili'ili campus has gotten a makeover. We used to have that big dog park in the back. We actually, unfortunately, had to get rid of it to make space for our admissions center and our veterinary clinic, because like I said, over 70 animals a day come in. So we really need to make sure that we have the space to accommodate them. Luckily, the city and county bought the land right next to the Hawaiian Humane Society, where they built a city and county dog park. So it all kind of worked out. We're super lucky. It's literally right next door. It hasn't been too used yet, even though it's an off-leash dog park that has separate sections for small dogs and big dogs. I think not a lot of people know about it yet. So hopefully it starts to get more used. But our campus has changed with our dog houses too. We now have this big area that's connected to 3 smaller kennels. And that allows the dogs to kind of go out and stretch their legs, play a little in the big yard. And then when they are done with their turn, they go back into their smaller kennel where they have their dog bed, their food and water, and they can just hang out in there until they're ready to find their forever home. So I mentioned before our community spay and neuter center. This is one of the most important things that we have done in a long time, because this is actually a low cost spay and neuter clinic. I believe the cost for spay and neuter here is about $120 compared to almost $300 at a veterinarian. The reason we have this is because we want to encourage people to get their animals spayed and neutered. Unfortunately, we haven't been able to get the grant from the city and county or from the state to make it that cost even lower, but we are constantly trying to get that. However, we have been able to get a grant from them that allows us to spay and neuter free roaming cats or feral cats for free. So one program that we really want the community to participate in is TNRM, Trap, Neuter, Return, and Manage. So community members just like yourselves could set up a cat trap in your local community. You would trap a cat. The cat could then be brought to the Hawaiian Humane Society. We would get that cat a free spay and neuter surgery, and then they will be released back. You'll pick them up, release them back where you found them. And that way they will continue to live out their lives, which is about 3 to 5 years for cats that live outdoors. And once they pass away, you know, they've lived their life out. They are not contributing to overpopulation, so they won't have that next generation coming out into our streets. So we're hoping that over time, this will lower the population. Some schools, like Kamehameha schools, I know Punahou schools too, have participated in TNRM for years now, and they've actually seen it really help with their campus. I know for Punahou schools, about 10 years ago, they had around 60 cats on campus, and now they're down to about 6 cats. So it does make a big difference if people are able to help us out with this program. You'll notice that top picture has a cat and part of its ear is missing. We call that an ear notch. And what that means is that this cat has had its spay-neuter surgery. It's a cat that lives outdoors and it has had the surgery. And the reason we do that while they're already under anesthesia getting their surgery, we take that little ear notch just so that the next person who traps the cat says, hey, I don't need to take this cat in to get spayed and neutered. It has already had the surgery. And that makes it so much easier for our community members. Oh yeah, sure.
The question in the chat or a comment question by Diane.
Does the Humane Society do outreach education about the danger of feeding stray cats? Okay, so we talk about the feeding of cats. So in the sense that if you are not participating in TNRM, if you have no intention to be trapping these cats to bring them in for spay and neuter surgery, what you're doing is against the law. You cannot be feeding these cats if you're not participating in TNRM. However, if you are participating in TNRM, and there's certain rules that you have to follow to be participating in it, we do encourage people to be feeding them and trapping them and bring them in regularly. The reason for that is if you are feeding them in the specific location, so some of the rules for TNRM is that you feed them in the same location, you don't overfeed, you stay there while they're eating, and then once they're done, you take the food with you to encourage more to not come. So all these different rules help us to maintain that population. And then once they kind of get familiar, they know the routine, that's when you start leaving the trap out, start trapping the cats and bring them to us. One thing we noticed is, you know, a lot of the community members would say, hey, there's so many cats around the island. What are you guys going to do about it? We are doing our part, right? We're offering this free service of getting the animals spayed and neutered. And now we rely on the community to do their part of helping us trap these cats. I know that it can seem a little frustrating when we see people feeding the cats, like, hey, don't do that, because, you know, then you're just going to attract more. But really, if TNRM is done correctly, it does make a big difference in the population over time. I know the idea of Hawaiian monk seals is a big thing too, which we have been constantly trying to address. Obviously, the Hawaiian monk seal population is super important. However, based on research that we have received, we're not 100% sure it's linked to the cats, although the cats will play a part in it because of their feces. That once they shed their, sorry, I completely forgot what it's called. Basically, the thing that gets the monk seal sick, only some cats have, and they can only have it the one time, then they shed it. And once they shed it, they don't get it again, or they don't have it again. So when we talk about if the cats are the main cause for this, it could be other animals too, because pigs also carry the same one. So the pigs in the mountains who might shed it and then it goes down the river, that could also play a part in the Hawaiian monk seals. There's no way for us to address how much the cats specifically play a role in this. And that being said, if we are participating in TNRM, we are lowering that population. Again, over time, we'll see less cats in our community. So there'll be less cats shedding the disease for the monk seals.
What is TNRF again, or whatever the letters are?
TNRM, trap, neuter, return, and manage.
Return and manage. Okay. Interesting. Anybody else, since there's a pause, have a question or comment before we move on?
I have a question. So last year, I read an article that when COVID started improving, there were so many people that returned animals back to the Humane Society that they had thoughtlessly adopted when they were all alone at home. And I also read that, I swear I read that like hundreds of cats were then shipped to the mainland because the local facility had overrun. I was just wondering if you could speak a little bit more about that and what happened with that. I was kind of in shock. My two cats have been from Humane Society. So, you know, that article caught my eye.
Yeah, definitely. It was kind of heartbreaking to see that all these people were returning their animals. I think especially for us who have adopted from the Hawaiian Humane Society or other animal shelters, we build this personal connection to our animals. It's hard to imagine having to give them up or wanting to give them up. Unfortunately, we try not to judge, right? There's different circumstances for these animals. Sometimes people just simply cannot take care of their animals anymore. Maybe the person has lost their job. Maybe they had to move into a different apartment that no longer allows animals. So we try not to be too judgmental on the reasons why they're bringing them in for adoption, especially during this horrible time. But when we did get those animals in, the Hawaiian Humane Society was getting pretty filled on animals. Luckily, we do have our different partners here. However, even though we're not associated or affiliated with the Humane Societies on the mainland, we do work with them when their population is lower for certain animals to send them some of our animals. So some animal shelters on the mainland, like Arizona, they typically never have large dogs for some reason. I guess because people don't really breed large dogs there. They probably just don't really see too many of them. So when that happens for them, they'll reach out to us because we always have large dogs. And sometimes we'll send them some of our animals to really help to kind of balance out the animals that they have in their care and the animals we have in our care. Again, the Hawaiian Humane Society, Hawaii in general, we have all these cats here because where are they going to go? They're trapped on this island too. And because of that, we do have this big population because kitten season never ends for us. Kitten season on the mainland is the summer months when it's hot out and the sun's out for a long time, but it's always like that here. So we have so many cats. Because of that, we just sometimes need people to take in our extra cats or extra animals. We are now trying to make it so that the community takes a little more responsibility, especially when it comes to cats. We tell them, hey, we'll provide you the supplies to continue to take care of this kitten. But if it's too young, it's still taking bottle feeding, we might not have the staff to be supporting taking care of that type of animal. So we'll give you the supplies, we'll give you all the resources you need. But if you could, take care of that animal for a month and then bring it to us once it's potentially eating more adult food, or even like kitten food, but that's dry food or wet food, then we are more than happy to take them in. So, we do have this big population and we're trying to do the best that we can, but we really rely on the community support and help for that. And yes, so I saw that you talked about the overpopulation of cats also endangers our native birds. So again, we are trying our best, but it's really difficult. We can only offer these services so much, and without like community help to really use these services, there's just not much more we can really do. We want to do the most humane thing possible for these animals, which is to not just exterminate them, to not just to go out and have people, harm these animals, which is something we've seen actually pretty frequently here in Hawaii, especially cats. People have this like negative idea of cats. A lot of people vilify them, but realistically, these cats are just living their lives. They have no idea the problems that they're causing for our community, for the other animals in our community. They're just existing. So we just want to do what's the most humane thing possible, which is just to provide them this SpayNeuter surgery so that they won't be contributing to overpopulation. And hopefully over time, this population will decrease and we won't really have to worry about all this cat issues anymore. So for our future, we are opening a West Oahu campus. I know that doesn't quite affect you guys too much over on the east side, because our main campus will still be most beneficial for you. But it will be nice to have a second location that can help, take on some of the burden of the animals, take on some of the animals that we have. And we also want to make sure that people on the west side have a place to take the animals to. There's only one veterinary clinic in Waianae. So if you can imagine, not even having more than one veterinarian available is just kind of ridiculous, right? So we are planning to offer all our same services, spay and neuter, adoptions, admissions, everything that we have on our main campus, we are planning to have here on our West Oahu campus. We have recently started to break ground, so we're really hoping to have it up by 2023. But if you ask me, it'll probably be closer to 2024, knowing how construction in Hawaii can be. Hopefully, though, that this will make a huge difference for our West Oahu people and animals. And that's going to be in Ho'opili district, which is kind of the Kapolei Ewa Beach area. And that's part of the reason we are helping to do that mass distribution in Ewa Beach to kind of encourage people to realize, hey, we're coming out to your guys' area. We're going to be a little more relevant here for you guys. So pay attention. We're here to help in any way possible. And that's about it for the Hawaiian Humane Society and what we typically do there. Did anybody have any questions for me quickly before I ask about different ways the community can help?
I actually do. So I actually teach here at WCC for the vet tech program, and I'm actually a tech myself. So I work at Burke, which is on the process of moving.
Mhm.
And we do a lot of stuff for the Humane Society with all your guys' animals. Unfortunately, now we don't have a surgeon, so that's a whole another issue, but we've always been helping you guys out. And I know all the doctors that I work with are big supporters of the Humane Society. And our program itself has a lot to do with kind of helping even our faculty and staff on campus out. And then we do work a lot with the Humane Society when it comes to like education stuff. So I know this past spring, we went to Sun Island to help you guys out with that huge homeless like wellness thing that you guys had. And then after that, nothing. So hopefully in the spring semester, we can kind of do that stuff again and everything will be rolling again. I know it's been hard. Last year had to be canceled. This year was that one event in February, and we're hoping that in the spring next year, because all the students are coming back to campus, you know, if we can collaborate and do more of that, because I think I was working with Shelly with that. So yeah.
Yeah, Shelly is amazing. I work directly with her. She's in our outreach department, so we're constantly working together. I was actually at that clinic you're talking about, so it's really great when we have WCC vet techs who can come out. You know, they help us at all different events. They even help us at Pet Kokua for Waianae High, which I help facilitate. So it's great that you guys can help out. Thank you so much. We really appreciate it. We have been still hosting some wellness clinics all around the island, but yeah, it has been difficult to find the help, especially because the main veterinarian we had who volunteered to come with us is now severely pregnant. So it looks like we're going to be having to look for a new veterinarian to come out and assist us. But yeah, thank you so much for what you guys do. And I'm sure we'll be reaching out to you about more events soon.
And then I had a question, because I actually live by Ho'opili. I live in Ewa Beach myself. Do you know where it is? Because they're still building.
Yes. So it's going to be on the corner of Fort Weaver Road and Old Fort Weaver Road.
Okay, where it connects.
Yeah, right where it connects. You can actually start seeing they cleared out a bunch of the old bushels that were there, so you can actually see them starting construction now.
Cool. Just because it's close to my house, and it's gonna suck later on, because when I moved there a couple of years ago, nothing was built, that was empty, and now it's element, and they keep building more and more, so it just keeps going out, and eventually they're trying to connect Kapolei to Ewa Beach, so people can go through our neighborhoods to get to the other side without having to go around.
And then let's see, I have a rat question. Do you folks provide a 24 type traps to the community? So the only traps that we actually have available for community members is the humane cat traps. And humane cat traps, you just put a deposit down, you take the trap home, and then when you come back, your deposit comes back. We don't have any like smaller traps or any bigger things for larger animals or smaller animals, only the cat traps available. If you use it for a mongoose though, like nobody's gonna yell at you for that. It's just that's the only size that we have available. Sometimes though, if you know, people have called us like, oh, there's this loose dog in my community. I think if I got a big kennel that I would be able to catch it. So there are certain occasions where we're able to give something bigger, something smaller, but yeah, typically it's just the humane cat traps, and those are super easy to get. You can just call us at our admission center, just schedule a time that you're gonna come in to pick it up, and it makes it real fast and easy. And then I just kind of wanted to briefly talk about how the community can help the Hawaiian Humane Society. You know, I talked a little bit about the community's role in things like TNRM, you know, obviously volunteers, like how our wonderful WCC vet tech students come and volunteer their time and help out with us. That's obviously another way they can help. But, you know, some students or some people want to help out in different ways. That's not monetary, that's not necessarily anything that they have to be certified for. So one of the biggest things I constantly encourage students to do and community members to do is create awareness campaigns about different topics that are really relevant towards animals and people in our community. And they include things like TNRM, why it's necessary, how to properly participate in it. I talk about the importance of microchipping your pet, why it makes such a big difference for these animals and why it makes a big difference for you if your pet ever goes missing. I also talk about general spay and neuter, not just specifically TNRM, but also how, you know, getting your animals spayed and neutered can help them to not want to escape as frequently. And it can also provide them a little more comfort. You know, obviously we're women, so we know that animals still get their periods, and it can be, you know, a little distressing for dogs to be having their period all the time. So things like spay and neuter can really help with behavioral issues, with physical issues that these animals might have. Those are kind of the basic things that, you know, I tell people are always necessary for community members to know. But really, when I think of service learning projects, it's whatever somebody is feeling passionate about and whatever they kind of want their community to know about animals. So it's really open to anything. So if you guys ever know of somebody who does want to help the Hawaiian Humane Society in a different way that's not just monetary, they might not have the time to commit to volunteering regularly, those types of things, doing a service learning project really does make a big difference in the community, especially if they're able to make flyers or posters and potentially send them out to their fellow WCC students or post them around campus or even the communities that they live in. You know, every person that we get who is, you know, opt to adopt, you know, they're feeling the love for spay and neuter, it makes a difference in that animal's life or in many animals' lives potentially. So I think that's it for me, except I wanted to share, this is Ellie. She's been asleep on my lap, so she's a little stunned, but I adopted her from the Hawaiian Humane Society 2 years ago. She's a senior gal. I got her when she was 8 and she just turned 10.
Wow, she's so cute.
She's really sleepy all the time, chill. So it's perfect for me and my lifestyle. And that's actually another thing I try to get students to focus on is finding a pet that's right for you. You know, I personally cover her ears. I've never been a Chihuahua person, but you know, when I saw her, when we interacted, she was just the perfect pet for me. And that's really the thing, right? We all want puppies. They're so cute, like German Shepherd puppies and Shiba Inus and everything. But when you find an animal who connects with you, it doesn't really matter what type they are, their age or anything. Even a senior pet can be the perfect for your lifestyle, depending on how active you want to be too. So did anybody have any last minute questions for us?
So cute. You know what's
Chihuahuas are awesome, just the FYI. I have 3 of them.
oh, Chihuahuas.
Yeah, I have a little one too.
Second Chihuahua I've adopted, actually. I tell myself I'm like not necessarily into Chihuahuas, but I can't stay away.
Yeah, I have 2 old ones and one is still a baby. She's not 6 months yet, but yeah, she's my Spitfire. She drives me nuts, but I used to bring her to school, but I don't anymore because she causes too much of a ruckus.
And your puppy, well, she's not a puppy, but your doggy's sleeping right now.
Yeah,
so
she's
cute.
always falling asleep. As soon as you pick her up and hold her, she's just out.
That is so cute. Well, I truly appreciate all the things that you've shared today. You actually have shared more than I even knew about the Humane Society. My kids and I used to always go there and just play in the cat house and enjoy the kitties because we couldn't enjoy the kitties in our own home because of landlord situations. So this was a one play. We really missed that we can't do that anymore because you guys are still closed, correct?
We are actually opening to full capacity in, I want to say about a week from now.
Exciting.
Yeah. So if you keep updated on our social media, somebody should be posting about that real soon.
Oh, good. Yeah, no, you really need to be interacting with the animals in order to know who you're connecting with. So that's really, really cool. Anybody else have any comments or questions before we run away, I should say? Lots of really creative ideas. So I'm hoping that other faculty will be able to check this out and see all the different things. I mean, gosh, people that are in an English 100 class can do an I can't even say it, advocacy campaign to, try and get some of those bills that we need passed. There's so many possibilities. So I really, really enjoyed today's talk and learned so much.
Definitely. And if you guys know of anyone who's interested in advocacy or anything specific that I talked about or even didn't talk about, feel free to reach out to me or have them reach out to me. I can put them in the best contact, in touch with the best contact for that.
Excellent. Thank you so much, Anne. And I'm thankful to all of you who came today to share your thoughts and took the time to listen. So mahalo, mahalo. Take care. Ahui ho.